I'm going to confirm on my phone.
Very good. It says it's on.
Did you say you're on?
Yes, Dean is checking right now for me. You have to go to live.
Yep, there we go. July 28, 2026.
Very good.
BOS PC meeting.
Yep.
Okay. We're live.
Yes, we are live.
I'll call the meeting to order for the July 28th Board of Supervisors and Planning Commission joint meeting to discuss ordinance changes. We're going to discuss with formalities. Is there a motion to approve or amend the agenda as presented tonight?
Make a motion for the agenda as presented.
Have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 At this time, is there any public comments? I'll ask again before supervisors.
If I may,
Yes.
I was just gonna note for the recorded video that Daryl made the motion and Dean made the second.
And for 2 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, moving into proposed ordinance amendments for the Township Codified ordinance. Christie, or Kate,
Sure.
rush through what we're going to discuss first of all.
So we're going to discuss recommendations and discussions for amendments to different ordinances that we came across over the last year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these for me that I had added would have been scenarios that I came across during permitting or complaints of some sort sometimes. But the first one that we would talk about tonight would be Chapter 103, the fire prevention and safety. Is that right? Yeah.
Are you going off of this list?
No, I didn't that one.
Oh, I'm
But-
sorry. She
okay,
was reading.
so so we have a list
agenda.
here. The first one is going to be about all the definitions in the ordinance. Me and Christy had went to a meeting, and I don't remember who was speaking, but they were saying about how there's gray areas and definitions throughout different township ordinances. And this company, if they come across one, they basically tear that ordinance apart because there's no black and white per se for the definitions in the chapters. Now I don't know if that's something that can be put into the ordinance or not, Andy,
So I'm
where they're more clear, more defined definitions.
it can be done. It would be a pretty big undertaking. I mean, we'd have to pull definition sections from the entire code into one section and then cross-check for everything. I'm sure there were some duplicative definitions.
Yeah, that was one of the things.
Especially in the Salvo and the zoning ordinance, we have to make sure that there aren't conflicts in those definitions, but but that wouldn't be a bad exercise to do. It would be a time-consuming effort to pour everything into one separate chapter. But at the end of the day, that it may not be a bad suggestion to do. It's just not.
Maybe would you guys want to keep that separate? Like we have some pretty basic recommendations, I think, on the rest of the list. And since this would be a big overhaul and time consuming, maybe we do it as a separate project.
Separate project is what I would prefer, but I'd also like to know, Randy, if it's something that you could kind of put a ballpark estimate around what it would potentially be.
I mean, without looking at how many sections, how many chapters.
Not talking tonight, I mean, like, kind of go back and just get someone to look at it and tell us, you know, X to Y. So that way when we're coming up for our 2027 budget, we could potentially factor that in, because I do like the concept. I assume it would be like a glossary of terms in the code. So the definitions always will live in one particular area, and those ordinance would use the defined term, and the person could go back, and that way it's only defined once, eliminate conflicts and so forth.
Right. Yeah, and it is, I mean, it is more feasible now to do something like this than in the past, because we can use AI to make sure that we don't have conflicts and to resolve some of those things, but also the second opinion that, you know, that we're not missing places or other chapters that use a definition of defined terms where it wasn't previously defined in that chapter. So we can spend a little bit of time doing some checks that we now with previous times.
Okay. Yeah, so for the October budget timeframe, September, whenever we start that, I think that would just be helpful to have some kind of estimate if that's possible. How anyone else feels about it?
So we're going to more or less table this, we're not going to discuss security expenses and that sort of thing tonight? Am I understanding that correctly?
No, we're still going to go through the rest of this list, and I think that these items are still necessary to address now. But keeping that overall glossary of terms project separate, you know, it would just be what we would be doing. So if there's some recommendations, I know for sure there's some recommendations of adding definitions. I think we should still do that, and then later on, Attorney Miller, it'll just end up in a glossary, or however, whatever we call it, so.
Okay. So in the essence of time, I'm going to go right into it. Let's start talking about security aids. Do we need a certificated date with the company that has a security guard at their entrance? I say that.
Did we kind of skip kind of down?
They're following something else.
They're on this
Well, I'm
side.
following the
Look,
agenda.
Christie.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry, forgive me. We're gonna go down that list I had sent. I know that the agenda says what it says, but it was just for a general order of what we're gonna talk about. But it doesn't mean that's gonna be the literal order. So the list we gave you guys, the recommendation / discussion for amendments tonight, Kate's gonna start ticking down it, and then really we're gonna try to get the general consensus of what Attorney Miller should include in his draft that he's gonna create. If it's okay with you guys, that's, but just to keep down the list is all, would maybe make it easy. Yeah?
I'm fine with that.
Yep, just announce where we are, what
Yeah.
page.
So the
So-
first one we did was all definitions.
So they're on
Now
this,
we're going to be at
First page.
255-22 accessory structures,
21. Yep.
or
I
20.
think we start with line 3,
yeah,
on page 2.
yep,
All right, so this one here was brought up during a permit for a roadside stand. We were trying to define temporary structure, and the best that we could do at that time was like 3 sides or less, as long as it wasn't enclosed, because of other definitions of structures, you know, it was for full enclosures more or less. So we're looking for language to be added to the ordinance for a temporary structure definition.
Does everybody agree with that? To add a
Oh.
definition?
yes is the quick answer, but I thought we had done something with roadside stands.
No.
Was it a year ago?
So I'm sorry. So I brought up roadside stands as this was the example as to why I was
Oh.
looking to have the definition added to our ordinance.
So you're more, it was just an example.
Yeah, sorry.
You're saying that a
Yes.
temporary structure, we need,
Yes.
it's
Mhm.
to,
And it is in that ordinance as well, of temporary structures, just we have no definition of what that is exactly.
okay, so it just says temporary structure, and it's
Right.
left to the imagination, so
Right.
to speak.
I thought we talked about this. I thought we talked about the signs, whether they
Well,
should take it down.
And we, yeah, it's just being used, roadside stands is being used as an example, Mike. And so, yeah, I got confused as well on that. And so apparently there's no defined term for temporary structures. And so Kate is
Yeah.
suggesting that be 3 sides or less. I don't know how anyone else feels about that. I mean, I could build a 3-sided, lean-to, and that could be indestructible, right?
I'll be the guy, 3 sides or less. So you have a roadside stand with a left side, a right side, and a front side, so you can't put a roof on it. Just saying.
So, some of the definitions I was looking it up would be like ones with, they have, what, I'm not even going to explain it. Andy would have to figure out a definition for that
I
one.
guess, what are you trying to do?
We can say, shall be no more than 3 vertical sides.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fine, but again, I could literally go out with, cinder block and make an indestructible 3 vertical sides, right?
Well, I think it's as much about not having a year-round
Building.
Enclosed, okay.
there, which if it's 3 sides, it's likely not going to serve that purpose.
Doesn't provide cover from cold or inclement weather, right? That is, so we just need some,
So if you could please.
Well, I think right now, permanent structure is defined in our ordinance, and permanent structure, I believe, basically says that it has a foundation and such. But there are sheds that, for instance, don't have foundations. They're sat on wood or stone, and but they're not considered temporary structures to us because they're going to stay there for a very long time and require a permit. So I think that maybe that definition doesn't necessarily need to be 3 sides or less. I think this was just a thought.
is it easily removable? Is
Right.
that where you're headed for?
Yes, like just some kind of artful, definition for that doesn't contradict our permanent structure definition.
But accessory structure, I think there's 2. There's temporary, accessory, and there's permanent accessory. When I think about an accessory structure, I think of a shed in my backyard, or a pool house for my pool,
Or a deck. That's another one.
an enclosed deck.
No, not enclosed.
Okay.
And
deck
patios are accessory structure.
And so is a propane tank is an accessory structure, I know.
They might not be.
is just think of a box.
No, I'm serious. All joking aside.
I know.
Because
I hear it.
I'm that guy.
But,
So
so,
You have to hold it in.
What we could say is just that temporary display structures shall not be permanently fixed to the ground or to the land, and shall not be remembering dimensional requirements. I mean, it seems as though that's the bigger issue.
But I could do that with a shed. I could get a shed, a 10 by 10 shed delivered, and it wouldn't be affixed to the ground. It would be just dropped on a bed of stone or on the earth itself. It's
Yeah.
not affixed.
What Andy's saying is it's not permanently attached to the ground, and we would outline the dimensions.
It's also enclosed. I think.
Didn't they also note that it should be easily movable?
Yes, that was part of it too.
That's like the roadside saying, probably on the vehicles.
So I was referring to the roadside stand, and he was right, the word I missed there was temporary display structure, so maybe that's the big difference, not temporary structure per se, but maybe add the word display in there, because,
Is that what the
That-
issue centered around then?
yes,
So someone had a roadside stand that really didn't fit with the,
she wanted to use an existing shed, which was 4-sided, and it fit the definition of permanent structure, so I had to tell her she couldn't have that one, and then she said, well, what about 3-sided? structure. We don't really have a definition for temporary structure, so.
So temporary display structure.
Yes.
Okay with creating a defined term for that. Could be the 3 vertical
Mike.
sides like you. Why is this
Mike
keep
keeps
turning
on,
off?
too.
It's great equipment. Sorry.
Turn on Mike.
You know, I think temporary display structure, 3-sided. I could go with that. 3 vertical sides, sorry. At least that way it keeps it there with the intent for roadside display. Whatever else.
Square footage and height.
Yeah, it's got the square, I think we have the square footage and things of that already in there, right? And I think Herb, you said like easily removable, right? So,
Yeah, the one thing that I would think when we start talking about size, though, in terms of size, is it bar size, is it screen size?
if it causes it to be enclosed, I'd say, yeah, the screen is there, yeah. Although you can make an argument, like, well, nighttime want to shut down, right? Well, maybe your fruit or whatever.
So do we have a consensus?
I think on that, these places we can get right now, yeah.
Good one for you.
And then we'll do those.
Mike's not on.
And not from.
Hey, everybody, just please make sure your mics are on for Julie.
You know what, I turn mine on.
I know,
all the
mine
time,
keeps-
and they're turning off automatically.
Mine is too. It is.
So, no more than 3 vertical sides and not permanently attached to the ground.
And it's gonna have to go.
I'm gonna use stuff with this technology. You
If
can
someone
get
has
these
a
guys
garage
on the
and
phone
they have a garage
and
door
tell them to
open.
figure this shit out.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna rip it out. Because I'm really getting annoyed with this. It's not supposed to be this way. And if I need to talk to him, I'm happy to talk to him.
Okay.
All right?
Mhm.
You know,
So just to be clear, if it starts
Huh?
raining.
this isn't on you. I just have no tolerance for this shit.
Right, and you won't be violated.
Because this is not supposed to be this way.
And, well, I don't know, it is you.
Can we move on?
I'd say we beat that thing.
So did you guys want him to make a definition for temporary display structure?
Yes, I'd say try and
Okay.
draft something out, Andy. Based
Yeah,
on,
I was gonna just propose an amendment to that section of the ordinance where it has
I think that would be fine for now, because that's where it would reside. Just, you know, I think we have some degree of consensus for concept.
Yeah, so I'll just make an amendment to that section 255-21. 21G1B. It says temporary display structure shall be no more than 3 vertical sides and not permanently affixed to the land. Period. Temporary display structures shall not be greater than 64 square feet in size and above 10 feet in height, and the area of sale shall be less than 100 square feet in area. Temporary display structures surrounding the sale area shall be completely beautification at all times. No store shall be permitted.
Sounds perfect.
Moving on, Dave.
All right, so the next section is 255-53B 4A. Where my notes here? So, all right, so this one here refers to the square footage of the accessory structure to house animals other than domestic. So we're talking fowls, chickens, goats, horses, you name it. My suggestion, this ordinance limits those structures to 150 square feet for, animals, I believe, smaller domestic, non-domestic animals. And then we have An accessory structure used to shelter or house any type of livestock other than provided for B4A. I'm sorry, I gotta find this one.
And so pretty much in a nutshell, what's going on with that one is, you know, the bigger the lot size, the more animals a property is allowed to have, but the structure size does not increase. And what we're trying to say is that there should be some kind of mechanism maybe to allow a little bit of a bigger structure for when a lot size is greater and they're capable of having more animals per the existing ordinance. And specifically, we're calling out the conservation district and the agricultural district, so not just any of the districts. And so I don't know what that looks like, but I was hoping that maybe Attorney Miller's office could maybe look into that and give a suggestion in the draft if everybody here is okay with that.
So, answer the question, the minimum lot size to have chickens is 2 acres? Or what is it? What is the number?
For chickens is 1 acre.
1 acre, okay. So, would we want to incorporate any additional acres? You get X amount of feet that you can expand your size of your building? Have it like a sliding scale? You have 5 acres, you have X size building. 1 acre, you have smaller.
Well, I don't have a problem with that, but I thought there's an ordinance about impermeable surface that from 1 acre to like 2, it's so many thousand feet, and then from 2 to 5, and 5 to something, there's something there. Would you be running against that?
No, so if they were going to put a structure in, they would still have to obviously follow that ordinance as well, that they can't go over impervious surface on a whole lot.
Okay.
Lot coverage.
Lot coverage versus number of animals. I don't have a problem with the sliding scale. And this would be focused on the ag districts?
No. So basically, it would be for all the districts except for conservation, agricultural districts would be exempt from this. So this one here stemmed from somebody,
So let me get this straight. Oh, gosh, darn it. So where I live, which is R1, and I live on over an acre of ground. If this went into place, my neighbor could have chickens or whatever.
mhm.
So actually, the other part of the R1 is built currently to encourage agricultural operations. So if you had, let's say, a 10 or 15 acre lot, theoretically, there probably are situations out there where people have farms or chicken houses at this point on that kind of acreage, as long as they meet the impervious surface. Do we stop that, or should we be stopping it? Because that's conforming with the intention of that zone.
I guess for me, because where I live, the properties around me are all like an acre or 2, maybe 2 or 3 acres. So from a personal standpoint, I don't necessarily want chickens or other farm animals around me.
Respectfully, I understand that, but if it's conforming with the zoning and you meet the impervious area, it doesn't really matter what I want. That's the main, if it's allowed, it should be allowed.
I understand that, but we're talking about this sliding scale piece here, so I'm just telling you what my
No,
opinion.
I'm just making
Yes, you
that.
want to do it.
Yeah, no. If I had 10 acres, yes, I think that's a little more.
I'm gonna tell
To me, it's different.
But if your neighbor has 10 acres, should we be allowed to have chicken houses?
Yeah, I would think so, if it's certainly permitted in the zoning. I'm just kind of down at this lower limit where it's like an 8.
Is it just going off, Dean? While you're talking?
When you hit your button,
Yeah.
mine goes dead. When someone else hits, it's almost like there's a limit somewhere. So Michael, hit yours once, just out of curiosity. Whose went off?
Andy's is off, mine's off.
There you go.
Oh, so does maybe it only
It's a
allows?
limit. Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
Okay.
so
Well, now we know.
Maybe I need to clarify it a little bit more. So my whole thing was, why this was brought up is I had somebody that had 4 acres and they wanted a larger building for some animals, for goats, and they were limited to 300 square feet of shelter. And without having to go to zoning hearing board, I think they should be able to have a larger structure.
So what's the problem with going and asking for a variance? Because then the folks that have the surrounding properties can go and either say they're for or against. Why would we change just to allow that one when a person could still apply for a variance?
I guess my argument on there gets back to the intent of the property. If you're not gonna have a farm on 4 acres, but you could have a farm on 10 or 15 or 20, and it could be R1. So should you have to get a variance to have a farming operation?
No, so farming operations are exempt from this section. This is in regards to accessory non-domestic animals. So this is not the primary use of agricultural operation. Just so that we're clear. I'm sorry that if you said that before I missed it, but that's not what this is for.
Help me just understand what defines that. If you're living there and you have a farming operation, then it's a farm.
So it depends on your zone. Some zones allow 2 primary uses, and they'll allow a single family dwelling and an agricultural operation. We'll do the gross property for simplicity, right? And they have a house. Just so happens they have 2 houses right now because they got a variance for that once a time ago. But anyways, they also have an agricultural operation. We have it defined, and I can't just quote that for you, but there's a definition that defines agricultural operation. And it's basically, and maybe Attorney Miller can explain this a little better than me, but there's some kind of limit, or probably how you're filing for you're having some kind of business. You have a business out of it.
Yeah, the ordinance defines agricultural operation, and I believe it tracks what the right to farm, how the right to farm act.
Your mic.
Your mic.
The ordinance defines agricultural operation, I believe it tracks what the right to farm act, how the right to farm act defines agricultural operation, which there's commercial components to that.
We'll see what they say.
So, some of those farms could meet those components,
Thank you.
that you're talking about, some may not. The ordinance, the exemption in the ordinance isn't zoning district specific, so you don't have to be in the agricultural district, to be exempted from it. You could be in other districts and be exempted at any means.
So I'm really not good here, but so is that exactly that you're grandfathered in because there's already a farming operation there? Or could I have 5 acres and say, I'm in R1 and I'm gonna turn this into a farming operation?
Currently, you could say that you're going to turn it into an agricultural operation. Well, let me take that back. In R1, I believe you could do that. If the district allows for agriculture as an underlying allowed use, or it's non-conforming use in the district, well, non-conforming use from the plot, which is probably not establishing new use. But if the district allows agricultural uses, then yes, you could turn it into something that's exempt. If you're in a district that doesn't allow agricultural uses, you need a variance, you need a violation of use provisions. So, and just point out, agricultural operation is, well, agricultural, the ordinance doesn't actually define agricultural operation, but agricultural is the use of land for agricultural purposes, including farming, dairy, pasturage, agriculture, horticulture, floriculture, fish culture, a whole litany of different kinds of agricultural operations. It is not, it includes the sale of products raised or grown on the property. There isn't actually currently an economic tax
I'm just thinking about it from the standpoint, like, I think with clean and green, it says that you're supposed to have $2,000 of revenue.
Yeah,
So
so clean and green requires has a revenue component.
Right. But if I'm in R1 and I've got 3 acres and I have 20 chickens, if it's allowable, I could be using that as, I could be selling it as eggs. So is that an agricultural operation then or not?
Yeah, I mean, under the definition in the ordinance,
So then they get exempt and they can put whatever that structure is on the impervious land.
So.
That's correct.
Sorry, just jumping back in. I guess, you know, are you hearing what you need to hear, Herb, to kind of get where you prefer to be with this? Have another
Well,
advantage?
I'm just wondering if this is, if we're following what's allowable, if we're enforcing what's allowable, or we're creating an issue there that's not really an issue.
Got it. Okay.
In my opinion, this would actually help people who have bigger parcels that still only want to have accessory livestock, really, instead of a full-blown agricultural operation. That's my opinion.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think R2 and R3 are different, but in R1, because agricultural operations are allowed, I could just say, this is an agricultural business, and so I'm exempt from whatever this rule is anyway.
I think that probably is true. in
Oh.
R1. Well, so I guess the other question, and maybe you can answer this, Chrissy, but does R1 allow multiple principal uses? Because it does have to be a principal use. Ag allows a residential use and agricultural operations, but the principal uses, I'm not sure if R1 does.
I'm just using myself as an example. I live on my property, but I also use it as an agricultural use.
But is,
No.
consider that,
Only one principal use
yeah.
and one principal structure.
So your agricultural use would be considered accessory or secondary, unless it is not.
I don't really understand that, but okay.
The ordinance only allows one principal use per lot except in certain districts. And R1 is not one of the districts that's allowed. For example, I think the one principal use applies in commercial and industrial
Mm-hmm.
as well. So we've had multiple instances where developers had to get variances or we denied because they wanted to have more than one principal use.
I'll drop this after this, but I'm just curious. How's that defined? Like, am I in violation because I'm raising goats on my farm, but I also live there?
As long as you're not exceeding the amount of animals allowed per that accessory, non-domestic, animal section, yeah, then you should be fine. Yeah, it would just be accessory to your single-family dwelling instead of a primary use. If that, am I, okay.
So just want to come back to it. So Chrissy, you said that this would help folks that have a larger parcel. So someone like Herb who has probably north of 10 acres, if I remember correctly, right? Versus I have an acre and a half. But it would create a sliding scale. Is that what you're looking to do or what?
You go ahead, Kate, because I think you are more clear on what you are asking for there.
I mean, we can do it by acreage, but, I didn't know if we were able to get the conservation agricultural districts exempt from this portion of, requirement where it requires, they can't have more than 300 square feet. I don't know if we can exempt those districts, as long as they're over a certain acreage, maybe. Or use all the districts, if they're over 3 acres or something. I don't know.
So what, you're confusing me. It's like,
Well, I don't
what are you,
know.
I understand you
That's
don't
one.
know, but are you trying to focus because this issue came up for someone that lives in an agricultural area or district?
They're in a conservation district, so.
Conservation district, okay.
So. if
So you're
some-
asking if agriculture and conservation districts that we have in our township could be exempt from this,
Yes.
From the structure
from
restriction.
the structure restriction. But they fall under all the other ordinance, so impermeable surface and things of that nature,
Yes.
which
Correct,
would
yeah.
ultimately
Now look
limit.
at that.
And stormwater management and everything,
Right.
yeah.
And so if they become exempt, then how many animals, non-domestic animals, could they put in there?
Well, they would still have to follow that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is
follow
Okay.
that.
strictly the structure that housed animals.
So is that possible, Andy, to exclude those two areas, conservation and agriculture, from this restriction?
Yes, we can exclude those from that section. The other option is you could also, I think, easily do a sliding scale there that would say that, any accessory structure that houses any type of group one livestock, which are 10 pound under animals, shall have an area no greater than 150 square feet per acre, because it's 1 acre minimum lot size. That, and then any others would be no greater than 300 square feet per 3 acres, because they're both,
Hmm.
those types of livestock are all 3 acre minimum lot sizes.
Okay.
So that, I mean, that would create a sliding scale. Now, whether you want to still exempt conservation agriculture's a secondary question.
So the sliding scale would let someone in those conservation or agriculture areas, which would tend to be larger plots, to have a bigger building.
Yeah, I think if you use that sliding scale example, then we wouldn't need to exempt anything, any district, you know.
So what if you have a area, let's say 3 to 10 acres and above 10, it's exempt? Because I'm just thinking, like, I guess I would be an existing structure, but I have a 40 by 80 and a 30 by 60 barns on my property. So I'm in violation under current rules, right?
No, you're non-conforming.
But I'm pre-exist, right, I get that, but should somebody that has if it's agriculture is one of the purposes of the zone, should you limit somebody above a certain acreage from being able to do agricultural operations because
They're
they don't
exempt.
have a building big enough to house what they're trying to do?
They're exempt from the structures, correct?
If there's an agriculture, the problem is if you're in R1,
Yeah, he's on
either residential or agricultural.
So you would need relief from the zoning hearing board, it sounds like. Yeah.
But that's
If
what I'm
you're
saying.
trying to establish it.
Could you say, and I think it makes sense that if you've got 3 or 4 acres, you're not gonna run a farm operation there. But if you're 10, I don't know what the number is, 10, 15, then those rules don't apply. Well, I'm in R1, and there's a lot of R1s that are above 10 acres in our township. Yeah.
I think we can come up with a sliding scale, but, I mean, unfortunately, you're in our own district, so maybe, at acres, if you're 50 feet away, that is not gonna be half a mile away.
Yeah, but you still have,
There's not one.
you still have all the setbacks and stuff, so apply.
Right, I mean, but if you have a sliding scale, it would be a big building.
Right, you don't have to come to the zoning hearing board, and that's the whole catalyst for this question. They would have, this person that has this particular plot that created this question would have had to have paid, what, the $750 fee for the zoning hearing board hearing, right?
Variance, for variance, yeah.
For the variance, and then come through and, plead their case, but then the surrounding neighbors would have got notified. Kind of like that idea that if I were near that property, I would have been notified of it, just to be able to say whether I was for it or against it type of deal. Kind of like that, but I also get the point you're making where, you've got 10 plus acres, it's like, I still have setbacks and things that I have to deal with, should have a little more flexibility there, so.
But wouldn't the true sliding scale increase alleviate your problem?
I think if it's realistic, but I think if you're talking about allowing 300 square feet for each 3 acres, it's unrealistic.
No.
So I think if you're 10 acres and you want a barn, because your house and animal, you need 3,000 square feet.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing too. Going back to history, you're all one. And all of a sudden, we get relief to put all these things in. And you shut about 4 lots off of there, off your property, you can't stop. Now you're left with 1 acre and these massive buildings on your lot too. So I think we don't have a crystal ball for the future, so I think we should come in here and ask for it, so we can put all that together. What you could potentially pin us into a corner by subdividing your lot and creating, like, non-conforming procedure projects at a different time. But I think there is some validity to, looking at R1, because they're set up for residential. R1, R1, we're putting R1 for residential.
Well,
I don't want to hear about your goats.
It's right. Housing primary personally, but what I'm saying is, if then maybe this is a comprehensive plan issue, that R1 should not be for agricultural purposes.
I mean, I want the case, I mean, I'm like, we're talking about residential, that's the primary, there's people living, potentially in the future, living right next to a big one. And I think that, you gotta look for down the road what could happen too, to your lot, or anybody's lot, or the surrounding lots. You're all one. Look for an agricultural, bigger piece of land somewhere, if that's gonna fulfill what you need to do. So R1 were put in place, not for pigs, goats, chickens, bees, and put in place for residential.
I do want to clarify real quick, and those are all very good points, Mike. I just want to say that agricultural operations is a permitted use in the R1 zoning district. It's just that 2 primary uses is not. And Herb, you also live on your property is all. So while you can have agricultural operation on an R1 parcel, you just can't have both primary uses without the relief. I just wanted to throw that out there.
So they're giving you in R1 the ability to, if you have, let's say, a hobby, to put a chicken coop in the back of your yard, you can do it. I also want to go back and say, we can talk about quantity, so I can put 2 accessory uses in there, under 300 square foot. So it should be limited. I can put a garage in there, I can put a pool shed in there, I can put a chicken coop in there. I can put multiple accessory structures on my roof.
So, on my,
And a 3-sided building out front. But I really think that, those things are put in place to protect residents in R1 districts.
I also agree with that. And might I suggest that maybe we do nothing for the other zones that accessory non-domestic animals are allowed in, but we, just do the sliding scale for maybe the conservation and agricultural districts, because to your point about subdivision and things, both the conservation district and the agricultural district already provide for a sliding scale in regards to how many building lots you're allowed to have off of that giant parcel. So I think that would be a better situation than allowing it on an R1 or R2 kind of situation. Just thinking here, just trying to give some kind of relief. I'm just looking at bigger parcels here, the much larger parcels. And conservation and agricultural districts would probably make a lot more sense to do that in.
So Andy, put that in one place, tight ball of wax for us, will you? What we have.
Yeah, and so I'm clear, the you want to exempt conservation and agriculture from the size limits altogether, and then a sliding scale for the other districts? Is that what you're doing?
I think that's what we've
Not doing
been
anything
hearing
for
the
residential,
last 10,
and just do
15,
it for
20.
the conservation and cultural.
Everybody all right with that?
What,
Say that
what was
again.
that?
Say that again, Andrew?
So you want to exempt from the maximum structure size, agriculture and conservation, in other words, from that subsection 4. And then for all the other districts in that subsection, you want the sliding scale to apply, 150 feet per 1 acre for Route 1 animals and 300 square feet for 3 acres for any other animals.
That's up to
Is
you
that what you
guys.
said?
No, I think that's what we were originally saying, but
Mike?
but in the end, after hearing some discussion, I think I was steering away from not doing anything in regards to the residential districts and only doing something about the conservation and agricultural districts. But once again, up to you guys.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So make sure I heard, that would be excluding the ag and conservation, because then that gives those folks the flexibility, and that's literally what that land was initially intended, or is currently intended for. Animals, whatever they want. And then in R1, we just leave this section as it is. So we'd only be exempting conservation and agricultural land from this section. Is that what I heard? From,
I like what Andy said. That's just my opinion.
no, I
That's
don't.
really different.
So we all have a little bit of different
Yeah.
opinions
So
right now.
from my standpoint, I like excluding ag and conservation because I live in R1 and I don't want a sliding scale near me. That's my opinion.
Okay, so I'm currently R1 and I have 3 acres. So I'm not opposed to coming in and asking for a variance, because my situation is I'm contiguous with industrial. And so I'm not impacting a neighbor. So I would appeal the zoning hearing board to allow me to do that, and then it would dictate what size of building I could have, and the size setbacks and all that.
So, yeah, I mean, they could potentially grant that variance. You would, it's an accessory use, you can't show that. One of the criteria for the variance is to show your property is not usable for anything else. That's one of the 5 criteria. So, you know, an accessory use like that fails the variance test. Because you're asking for a use variance. Well, I guess if it's just the structure size, I guess that would be a dimensional variance, and you would potentially have a relaxed standard. So that could be useful, that you could get a variance for that.
Okay, so that would let the person come in, as Dave was suggesting. Gets the agriculture and conservation back to what they're initially intended for, and put some guardrails on folks that have R1 property.
So then that would alert my neighbors that I'm asking for a variance. So if a neighbor comes up and says, no, I don't want chicken coop there, because, you know. Then I'm looking at Troy, you're in R1. Yeah. You have 30 acres, 31 acres. So,
Well, it does, I mean, requiring that variance probably limits, because there is a concern, I think Mike's concern about future subdivisions of that land and what's left over is, you know, is valid.
that is valid.
Although I don't know that going the variance route fixes any of that, because you would have that variance in the future if you subdivide as well.
But when you subdivide, wouldn't you have some limits on the existing structures and whatnot? You couldn't, could could you downsize the property with all the structures on it to where it wouldn't meet the impermeable test and things of that nature?
Well, I mean, if you have a variance on the larger lot, you go to subdivide it and means that remaining lot non-conforming, there's probably an argument for the township to stop that subdivision or put conditions on it to address, any concerns about that variance that can pass.
Okay.
So there would be more control than there is currently without
So Mike, since you raised that, does that help or hurt?
Yeah, makes sense, you know. I don't think, like, I think that would be good to put the, you know, the township had the restrictions. If your side, you know, you put a 31 acres and you can put this huge barn on there that you're gonna have, you know, horses and cattle and everything running around and, you know, so you bring it down, they can say, hey, you know, if they can go back on you there and say you can't, they want to subdivide certain law. I don't know how difficult that's going to be, you know, to do it for us and get, you know, restrictions on your subdivision.
But it would stop you from doing subdivision.
It
Right.
would, yeah, put restrictions on it.
And then that landowner would have to, you know, go to his team of engineers and attorneys and whatnot and come in for further discussions with the township to see what they could do.
Yeah.
And it still gets wrapped into our current ordinance. So I mean, it sounds like there's some protection there.
Mhm.
How does our zoning officer feel about that? You have to enforce it. What's your opinion? What would you like to see?
I like what Andy said the first time, sliding scale for all the districts except for the conservation and agricultural districts, where they're exempt from the size of the structure.
So, can I suggest we could do it that way and let everyone see what that change looks like? Everybody take a chance to comment on that once you see it.
And I don't know what, I'm not a farmer, so I don't know what it takes, you know, I see people with chicken coops in varying sizes in their backyard, but,
Mike.
Hi.
So, hi.
Mike,
Uh-huh.
you know, they have varying sizes, but, I mean, is it, you know, even a sliding scale, 70 square feet per acre, that you can have, you know, or is it you jump up 5 acres at a time, you know, I don't know, I don't know when you know, I go down to Snyder's farm, and there's substantial buildings all over his farm, in the front corner, the back corner, you know, all, and then, you know, he has 400 acres there, you know, he has to store his hay, you know, goes to
Yeah, but
livestock, so
And-
much different, you know, but that's agricultural.
Right, and that's also, yes, it's the different use and, you know, these animals. So to Herb's point, he has existing structures, right? Well, you brought animals onto your property and now you've effectively, even though it's still a barn's a barn, but we have a provision that says when you have accessory animals like that, now you have to conform underneath these restrictions, so now you're not conforming. You just changed it by bringing the animals in.
Right.
So yes, I mean, they could be storing their tractors and stuff in there, but they have no animals, but there's no restriction on that currently, as long as you're meeting your lot coverage and setbacks and things. So it's just when you change the use of that structure is where you're getting, you just crossed a line kind of thing.
Right, and I would get, like I said, go back to an R1 district. It's the residents only, you should have, be respectful of your aesthetics on your property, the noise on your property, and you have very passive goats. I
don't care about mine.
no, but I'm saying, but what about if your neighbor had kennels?
If you
What are you doing? Are you using or selling them?
If you read what the R1 description is, it includes the use of agriculture, it's encouraging the use of agricultural activities. Low density houses with encouraging the use of agricultural activities.
Okay, I mean, if I have any choice, it's residential, Sorry.
And we need to change the description.
You know, that's a push, but I'm just saying that we're trying to, have a meeting, trying to, I'm gonna just call them hobbies. People have hobbies. You have, greenkeeping, when people breed, have dogs, breed dogs, it's not a kennel. I might have a chop shop for a motorcycle, and do it in my garage, but you don't tell other people if you start to sell motorcycles out of his garage, you're gonna tell them you can buy a piece of commercial land and do it. So,
Mhm.
if you have goats, you go out there and eat your grass and lawnmowers, fine. You wanna sell them? Get the agriculture. That's what I'm looking at. You need the residential setup. We're giving the people an opportunity to have hobbies.
Yeah, I'm
On
trying
their-
to
on
allow
their thing.
people to have
And if
larger
a sliding scale
areas.
on bigger pieces, I think is a fair way to do it.
So just,
But that's.
sorry, no, but coming back to what Herb says, so I went into the code because I live in R1 and I wanted to embrace kind of what you're saying. So what it says here is encourage the retention of existing agricultural uses. I think the important word there is existing, okay? Because I know my house used to be farmland that I was on. They used to farm, put corn and wheat and whatever on it. I'm clearly not doing that. The second part is provides for low-density residential uses in locations where on-lot utilities may be feasible or centralized utilities may be available. And the third is to retain the rural characteristics of the area to the extent possible. But I think to the point you're making about encourage existing agricultural uses. So like in your property, if there was, say, out of, I don't know, I know you have north of 10, I can't remember what it was, or you told me before, but let's say 5 acres of it you were, cultivating and growing corn or whatnot. I get that, right? That's existing type of deal.
And I'm sorry I used mine as the example.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's a point of reference. I use mine as a point of reference as well. I wouldn't apologize for that. It's what we know, right? It's what we know.
Okay, Ian, can you throw something together and we'll take another crack at it at a later date? Because we gotta move on.
All right, go for it.
So, Layman might be able to help me a little bit with this one. This one here, I would put on.
Which
during-
one? Sorry.
The next one, where it says Saldo. I said this was a problem at DHL, so I had to go to DHL, not too long ago for inspections, and I was stuck in the traffic trying to get in at the security gate for like half an hour. It took me 45 minutes to get out of there, because of the traffic and having to wait. So I don't know if we can require sufficient on-site queuing areas at security gates, more specific to, where you have the tractor trailers on one side, employees and, regular cars on another side. I know when we were talking about, another plan that had a lot of traffic in it, we were talking about the queuing there as well. I think that was last summer at one of the places, but I don't know that we have anything that's real specific to on-site queuing during the planning process.
My opinion about that is that we approved land development plan, and they have a driveway going in, and if they have a certain amount of area in that driveway where they can queue up, that's the limit of what they can queue. They can't queue beyond allowing traffic to go in and out of the site. So I think they're violating the terms of their plan approval in that situation. It's just like the problems we had down at where the cold storage plant was, and they were, parking. They had so much queuing that they were going off the site. They were violating the plan. I mean, that's just that simple. And if they can't get in and out of there, they have to stop it.
But how do we enforce it?
So
This
that's
is a
quick.
zoning violation, okay? The plan was approved relative to access into the property and a certain amount of queuing. once they don't follow the plan, they're in violation of their plan group.
Well, I don't even know if it was, so much as too much traffic, you just had to sit there for somebody to come to you.
So was it a function of all the trucks being backlogged and the road wasn't wide enough to allow
Well-
employees or, two-axle vehicles to get in and out easily?
Well, we could get in and out, it was, I guess, maybe it was more of a staffing issue too, as well.
Yeah, but that's important because, they're right off of Zion's View, right? And so that road that leads in, that's their private access driveway, correct? And so if that thing can hold 10 or 20 vehicles and doesn't dump out on the Zion's View Road, they're not in violation.
And that's the way the plan was approved.
Okay,
Now,
so,
are you talking about when they're coming off of the property, that you couldn't get out of there because?
I had to wait, at the gate.
Yeah.
but wait,
Well,
why?
Then they're
They
not
said I had to
following
check
the
out.
operation that they had portrayed when they got their plan approved.
But I'm just trying to make sure, because it seems like, Kate, when I asked a couple other questions, it seems like it's more of how their operation works. Like there wasn't a guard present or personnel present to open the access gate to allow you to enter or leave.
So it was like a mixture. So I was like in between trucks. Like the cars are in between the trucks. There's no like separation as to this side's for cars, this side's for trucks. And we're all just sitting there waiting for, it was a combination probably more than anything of the security guards to come out and check you in.
And probably you were going there when there wasn't a shift change going on either, because I got to believe they probably have that man when a shift change is taking place. So that doesn't sound to me like it violates the plan. It's more how they operate their business.
Okay.
Well, and that was the problem that we had down there with the cold storage place. They just weren't opening up in the morning to allow, you can't do that. You
Right.
can't stop.
But they were queuing into the road.
Mhm.
They weren't queuing in their driveway.
And we were very explicit with the DHL plan that there was not going to be any parking of trucks on Zion View Road, and they weren't going to be allowed to back out there.
And that's not the situation she's describing. The situation is their driveway.
So,
So it's an operational issue for them.
I think the situation was, Katie, that you couldn't get by the trucks to get in past the gate to go in and do your work.
Right. We were all kind of intertwined together.
So there was no way you could bypass that line and go around?
No, because there was a gate. Everyone had to wait for one of the gates to open.
So there is a single queue line, and it's for any
There's
turn of
two.
traffic.
Yeah.
We're both open.
So it's 2 lanes in and 2 lanes out. There's 2 gates. There's a gate on each lane, and there's just cars and trucks intertwined. There's no specific side that a car would have to be on versus a truck.
But again, it's not going out into the public streets. So it's-
No.
It's an operational issue. Nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, well, so the zoning ordinance 255-59 specifically says in no case of a commercial, and we could modify this, but it says, in no case where a building is erected, converted, or enlarged for commercial manufacturing or business purposes, shall the public right of way be used for loading or unloading of materials, and you add the word queuing of vehicles. And in the first sentence of that provision, it says, all commercial and industrial establishments shall provide loading and unloading and commercial vehicle storage space adequate to their needs. You can add queuing in there as well.
But they would be queuing in their own driveway. That's what I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They didn't queue out into Zion's View Road. They're queuing in their own driveway leading up to that gate. So what you're describing, I mean, we could certainly add it, but I don't think it solves that
Put
issue.
in there, but it's a separate issue.
Yeah,
It's still a very issue.
yeah, fair point.
Mm,
So it's saying that truck.
I run into this
mm.
all the time, and I just queue with the
So it
trucks.
does say
They
that
don't
on
have
the site.
Separate
Yeah, it says
for contractors to
adequate
come in.
food needs.
Or they will create and tell you companies and contractors and producers, it's separate during that time. But I'm just sitting there, they have to come out, open up, inspect the trucks. In and out.
Yeah.
Inventory in, inventory out. So, they have to.
Would say
Yeah,
that.
but
But I'm stuck, I'm trying to get home. And I agree, but there's nothing.
yeah, it's an operational thing, but we should just add it. All right.
Hey, Andy,
What's
so you're
next?
saying that 255-59 is for on-site, like that refers to everything
Well,
on their
no,
property?
you're right, the on-site situation, the on-site situation got worded. I mean, unless it does say that they have to provide,
Mike,
it does say that they have to provide, loading and unloading and commercial vehicle storage space adequate for their needs. So, I mean, I don't know how successful you will be with that, but you make the argument that because they're queuing in that way, they're not providing adequate vehicle storage space, or loading, unloading space. That would be one way to approach it. If we put queuing in there, maybe that helps, but then the question becomes, is the driveway exclusively for access, or is it also for
And define the property owner, that's queuing.
what I would just do going forward is every time you gotta do an inspection at that site, I'd be telling whoever's supposed to meet you at the gate to bring you in because you're not getting stuck there again for 30 minutes and 45 minutes leaving.
Well, it's still, anyways, let's move on.
That'll
Yeah.
work.
So then, in conclusion for that one, it's not getting addressed. We're moving on because we are
Operational.
unable. Correct.
Well,
All right.
I'll make sure change that to queuing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, add queuing. Okay.
So let's go down to this busing and truck terminal use came because Kraft wanted to storage their buses back at that, what was that place that had a phone place back there?
Assurance,
No, record club.
a record club they started at, sorry, you're right. And then they went to
Yeah, we did
Assurance.
look at Assurance down there.
They're not there now.
No, they went into Conewago
Yep, they're in
Township.
Conewago.
We went
But your
across.
recommendation is that we require, if they want to park their buses in an open lot somewhere, to require office space?
For in the definition of truck and bus terminal, we would add something where they have to require office space, but then we're also looking to add uses for just a drop lot and just vehicle storage lot. So it kind of defines what each use would be.
These were recommendations by Attorney Miller when we were dealing with that situation because we were having trouble doing enforcement to some extent. So this will help clear some of this up.
Okay, well, they did go to Conewago Township and they're storing their buses there now. So they bypassed East Manchester Township, they went to Conewago to put their buses.
For now, but we also,
We should do it.
no, we also had, the other thing that triggered this was, what was that trash company over on
Yes.
Devco?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had, the drop lot issue has been a recurring issue.
Yeah, Mike.
Well, let me put it this way, Andy, is there any opposition to having this?
No.
I see none.
No.
Okay.
So we're adding.
So you were misunderstanding, I think this is okay.
Office space also require laboratory facilities.
So if you put a temporary small trailer in there and some portable, that would suffice.
If you, it depends how we write it. We can, I'll have to think about that as we write that definition. You're talking about the definition for bus and truck terminal.
Right.
Yeah, there is no definition in the ordinance currently at all. I've seen definitions in multiple other ordinances for it. So, I can look at what some of those definitions are and, I think
So I'm saying would a temporary office trailer there and portlets suffice?
It depends if we, how specific we are about what would be allowed or not allowed to satisfy that. I mean, if we write it in the broadest terms and just say office space, bathroom facilities, then yes, it probably would.
Mhm.
Okay.
Are we ready for the next one?
Yep.
Go
And
ahead.
just because, like, a bus company is allowing, instead of buses going back to their terminal, they're just parking in satellite parking lots, is that what it is?
No, they literally were making that their home, but they had office space in a shopping center somewhere else on a different parcel, and their employees were coming to Record Club's parking lot to park, and then they'd get into their bus and leave for the day to go, or however long, to go and pick up kids and drop them off. I think they were coming back and then doing it again in the afternoon, but they weren't using the building. And that ordinance, the commercial district ordinance, basically says that you're allowed to have more than one use on the lot, it has to be all housed within the same principal structure. It's not, I mean, there was already a tenant inside the building, and then the second tenant, Kraft, was not in the building. They were only on the lot. So technicality, which is what we hung our hats on and enforced and worked, but it needs to be more defined. So no, they were trying to call it a home and be there permanently.
So it basically was a satellite parking area.
Oh,
for
yeah,
buses.
then yes.
And I see this, and maybe this would have to be looked at wherever it is, getting people who are driving their employee trucks home at night. But I have seen, like, down by the Gallery of All buses, parking lots down there overnight, picked up, so maybe,
That's Springersbury.
Yeah, well, it's Springersbury, but I say, I'm like, I go through there, and like, buses parked.
Yeah.
People are just looking to, 18-year-olds got parked somewhere too.
Yeah, let me do that and put in the driveway next to it.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, I just wanted to try to understand.
Yep. Go ahead, Kate.
All right, so the next one's chapter 103-11 for security gates. This one here, I'm looking to have something added where it states something along the lines of discretion of fire chief, zoning officer at any time may require one of the following at any of the property's points of entrances, which means we can require more gates, we can require another siren activated gate, or maybe a security guard if needed. So this was brought up due to a company in the township that was arguing with the chief of police when he was talking to them about their emergency access gates. They weren't siren activated, but they said because they had a man guarded shed 24/7, it was only one on the property, that should suffice, this ordinance, which it didn't, because when they were called there for fires, they had to sit and actually wait. They couldn't just go in, and that was causing an issue. They have fixed it since then, but I wanted to see if we could add that recommendation sentence or something similar to it to this ordinance.
Yeah, so the fire truck pulled up to a gate, and the guard shack was X amount of feet away, and they had to wait for this guy to get out of the guard shack, walk the whole way down just to open the gate for the fire trucks to get in. And so Chief Stevens is like, no way, this either also needs to be manned down here, or you need to have siren activation here so we can ride right in. We're responding to a serious call, and they bucked Kate and Chief Stevens on it a lot. It was, we finally got it resolved, but, it was a headache, so.
Did this over there fire about 2 years ago? The whole thing filed on fire?
No, this was more recent. Wasn't it more recent?
More recent,
That's-
but when did this been a part of the planning, coming through the planning commission and laying that out?
They
Well, yeah.
added fences.
They added, so this is a function of, they added something, did they not need to come back and get a permit and tell us that they were adding something?
I think that their siren activated gates were broken and they never fixed them. And so they were just, I think, padlocking them. I
Yeah.
believe.
Okay, so they had siren activated, so it's a
Yeah.
failure to maintain.
Yes.
So is there a
Right.
provision in the ordinance to,
Well, yeah, I mean, I did. I mean, they were served a letter. But what I meant, so they were basically saying that they were following the ordinance because, you know, they had that guard there, but it would be nice if.
No,
we could-
sorry, Kate. So they added stuff, they initially had siren-activated gates, they failed to maintain the siren-activated gates, they padlocked them, and their position is that because they had a manned guard who was however many feet away, that's what they were leaning their hat on. But you were able to go in and find them under our ordinance, right? The way they're
Yeah,
currently
I
written?
sent them a cease and desist letter.
But this beefs up.
How does it beef it up? I don't understand, because if I'm the property owner and I'm not maintaining my stuff, how are you gonna find me faster? Are you gonna find me more? I don't understand how you're getting me to do compliance.
Could the land development plan get reviewed by the fire chief? And commercials have knocked the spots on their buildings, and I think he should have a plan in place for every single facility and how they're gonna fight it, and how they're gonna.
And I think they do.
And right.
Okay.
And that's part of the land development plan, and he has to review it, and if they are not in compliance with that, then I think we should do it, and call the insurance carrier.
And that's fine, I'm just trying to understand how by adding something, like it's already have teeth, I don't understand how this is going to change anything. That's what I'm missing.
The only thing I can think of that would help address this, basically, we could make that it says personal, right now it says personal security guard on duty at all times, it doesn't specify.
At each gate or,
We could say a personal security duty, or a personal security guard on duty at each security gate at all times. So if they want to man them, you have to man them with somebody.
if they don't wanna maintain the siren activated gates, they gotta put
Or they-
personnel. I'm fine with that change, that makes more sense.
If they don't have security guard there, they gotta install kind of.
Right, you can't just have a security guard somewhere along the property.
Yep,
And they, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
that works for me.
Yep, good.
All right, so the next one's gonna be 203-21, obstructions and hazards. This here is referring to basketball hoops only, not referring to vehicles or campers or anything like that, on the road. So we get a lot of complaints about basketball hoops in the roadways. Sometimes they're in the sidewalks, but per the ordinance, it states that, sidewalks and curbs. Andy had been told about this as well, and he had assisted on the second class township code as to, this is technically a police matter, but I don't know if we can add the word street in the ordinance to make this stronger leverage for when we send enforcement letters.
So basically, adding the word street to that ordinance section would allow township staff to enforce it. Whereas right now, when a basketball hoop is on the roadway, a police officer would need to handle it because they enforce the state law, whereas we do not. We only enforce the codified ordinance.
So can we add the word street?
And I don't know that. That's something that we have a question for you, Andy. The police are bothered by it. They don't want to enforce it. It was very clear that that was the case by the officer that came to
More
us.
important things.
Right, right.
The headings of the section aren't limited, if you say street I think you can enforce the same.
It doesn't matter if it's a township road or a PennDOT road, right? Just to be clear.
If you add the word street, because right now it doesn't include that.
Well, I mean,
mean, it will make a difference for PennDOT roads, but theoretically, there shouldn't be PennDOT roads that people run.
I would hope so, but I just wanted to make sure
If there are, they probably won't be like that.
it's long. I'll be playing in the miniature league.
We're gonna have Main Street.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right, very good. Go ahead, Kate.
All right, so 103.9D, this is in reference to the fire lanes, emergency access drives. We had talked about this some in previous plans.
Bob.
This one
Bob
here
brought it
was-
up.
Uh,
I was just saying Bob brought it up.
I'll give you an example, a case in point, is DHL, if you're coming up, Canal and extended towards Mr. Hewitt's property. The entrance to their emergency entrance is not blacktop, it's grass. And it goes up and makes a real hard right-hand turn up at the top, which is difficult for some fire trucks to get through. But we tried to remedy that during the plan. But it went through with that, Byron called it like a mesh or a geotextile thing. And I don't like that because it's hard to plow. And I want to see all the emergency access roads plowed open with their driveways. So I encourage us to do plow. That's just my opinion.
And this was, I don't know if you said this part or not, Dave, so forgive me if you did. This is in regards to the interior fire lanes that don't enter onto a public road. I mean, right now, the way the ordinance is written, if it enters onto a public road, it is required to be blacktopped. So that's not the problem. The problem is when it's on the interior and it's going parking lot to parking lot on the inside, that's not what's required to be paved. So Bob had brought it up at the one board meeting, and it sounds like the three gentlemen here had also agreed that that should probably be addressed. So that's why this is on the list right now.
But this says all fire lanes, emergency vehicle access drives. That's what I'm referring to, vehicle access drives.
I'd have to bring up the whole section, but when Lehman and I had read it in the staff meeting, because we had to pull this when we were reviewing, was it Motor Tech's plan, Lehman? Yeah, the way the language is, it does not cover what you want it to cover. So they were not required to pave the interior. And I think the condition you guys put on the plan when you gave approval was that it just needs to be approved by Chief Stevens, and whatever they sent Chief Stevens, he was in agreement to. So, and I'm not aware of what that was exactly, but
But the verbiage that you are suggesting reads all fire lanes, emergency vehicle access drive, all portions of parking area access drive, both internally and or connecting the fire should be lane to a public street shall be constructed.
no, that's what we're saying should be that's what we're recommending.
Yes, and I'm saying that will alleviate my concern.
Oh, very good.
Because they would be,
Okay.
built to our minimum specs to be black.
Okay, then yes.
Yeah, because you included public street in your recommended. So,
Right.
yeah, he's covered all his bases.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Kate.
So they are agreeing to that.
Yes. Yep.
All right, so the next one's going to be 25562 signs. This is one of my favorite topics. So this one here, I'm looking for something where we can require permanent signs on commercial and industrial buildings to identify them, because we apparently don't have anything in the ordinance that I know of that requires this, a permanent sign to be on display. I'm looking for them to be displayed both on, for example, like a shopping center. It would be on the freestanding sign when you first go in, as well as on the building itself. It also will help immensely with emergency situations as well. So when I go on inspection with Chief Stevens, I have been requiring them to even put their name, their business name and address numbers on the back doors because they weren't on there before. So
That's good.
this here will also, I think, help me to enforce some of the signs as well.
And Kate's correct. We've always required this. And I kept saying to Kate, I swear there's an ordinance section. I swear it. And we hunted and hunted and hunted for this ordinance section. And we even had Attorney Miller's office help us. And they came up empty-handed as well. So I have no idea where I was getting it from. So I guess my brain just conjured it or something. I don't know. But
No, Chris, we did discuss this in detail when we did, Unify. Because they faulted putting an illuminated sign out front.
well, that was the illumination.
Thing, and this is not what we're discussing right here, but I think all our industrial partners should have an illuminated sign to help alleviate trucks backing up because they miss where they're entering.
I think we did address that in the last ordinance amendment, Steve, the illumination.
We did,
Yeah.
it's in
Yeah.
here, illumination
Yeah.
of signs is in here, we did
But
that.
it's not, it doesn't go to the extent where I want this internally illuminated. Because when you do externally illuminated, it could be snow over the
Oh,
light.
yeah, I thought we changed that.
Yeah.
Sign may be illuminated only if the lighting is so screened that it's not directed or reflected toward any residence, 100 feet. It doesn't say about
Hold on,
internal.
non-residential properties with sign for truck. Internally illuminated
There
sign
you
for
go.
identification. It is in there, Dave.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Done and dusted for that one.
What the impetus of that was, I mean, I understand for good reasons, for like, some maybe an emergency, but if you're gonna respond to an emergency, you're gonna respond to an address. And business signs were always primarily, first and foremost, an identifier for a marketing reason.
Mhm.
Why would we care whether somebody puts a sign? And I'm not saying this, like, probably there is a good reason, but I don't know what that is.
Do you
I know
have
the
your
emergency
evaluation?
stuff, it makes it easier, but I mean, the guy would want that then. A business owner, a woman, whoever is running the business would want that. If they don't want a sign, why are we saying it would hurt them, if anybody? What's our vested interest in them putting up a sign?
I think the biggest one is for emergency purposes.
Chief Stephen did say that, you know, if they know the business name, it is easier to see the name than the address. You would see the name on top first. You wouldn't, you're not gonna see the address first.
I mean,
But you will find the address, if it's like a house, you won't see that, but you're gonna get there.
Right. Right.
So it was just a curiosity thing.
Shopping
To say-
centers with many units.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I
like
get
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah,
you
that's
have
the
a lot of
biggest one.
businesses that are, legitimate businesses in small buildings that, I don't know, it didn't, to me, make a whole lot of sense if it's a marketing thing primarily. They're hurting themselves if they don't put a sign up.
Yeah.
But, why the township has a vested interest, no, you're putting one up there. It was kind of like, where, there was a small line that didn't make sense.
When you put it like that, yeah.
Well, if I'm the truck driver,
Yeah.
I'm coming up to try and find DHL without a sign. I'm gonna be sitting in the middle of something from it, for example, thinking,
That's a good point.
which they've done before.
Right.
So that's why I think the industrial partners and commercial should have illuminated signs to let the.
Well, it's right here, that section that Christie read out, it's non-residential properties which generate more than 5 truck trips per day shall have an internally illuminated sign for identification
Good
of the
enough.
primary access drive of the property. I'm sorry.
I didn't read close enough to that, my fault. I didn't pick up, you got thinking of the small mom and pop store.
And I think that is what the intent was though, but he's saying that
That's-
our ordinance addresses Dave's concern. I think.
That's where we hit on that the last time.
Yeah.
Now it's a function of, and I agree with you that, especially given technology today, it's like, I'm gonna plan the route to this particular address and get there. Do I really need to know the name? Now, in the shopping center, especially depending on where you're attacking from, if you're attacking from, say, the back of the building, it would be important to know, am I running into Domino's, Verizon, or Giant Foods, you know? That's probably important back there, okay?
And I think that's what's more directed towards is the shopping centers.
Yeah,
requiring
when I
them to have.
asked my question just now, I was thinking the mom and pop shop, like, you're gonna put a sign up, and I'm like, right, but I did not read it deep enough to see that it was scaled to something a bigger size, which I agree completely.
So additional, a sign for industrial area, which we have to consider, because the county does have a problem with transportation. And if we have signs up saying that Starbucks, international truck, that sort of thing, is all within this industrial complex, would help the truckers and alleviate some congestion. So it comes down to who's going to pay, who's going to maintain it, X, Y, and Z. But that's for another day.
Two questions. One, DHL, you can't see the building unless you're on Canal Road, you see the backside of it. So where do they put their building sign?
Oh,
don't know
well,
if they
so
have one
theirs
now.
is out by the road. I mean, that's where theirs is required to go, out by the road for DHL.
Well-
Is that what he meant?
I mean, for the sake of truckers, as Dave was saying, for them to find the driveway, it obviously needs to be out closer to the road, so people,
Yeah, but I'm saying.
well,
here
that
you're
was
saying
an
that you'll-
afterthought,
I understand,
Yeah.
but that's what it says now.
yeah.
But here you're saying we also want it on the building, even though you can't see the building from the roadway.
I understand now what your point is. Maybe it needs to be more specific language, just directed at commercial buildings instead. The industrial buildings were more focused on trucks getting into the, parking area for their building, but for commercial, and if you don't agree with it, then it is what it is, then we have better direction, but
Then secondly, you have
Okay.
Starbucks, which has, I don't know, 6, 7 buildings. You just requiring one on the main building? Or they each have to put one on each building?
I think I would revert back to what I just previously said and maybe just exclude industrial from this intent of this portion of the amendment.
Maybe we need a little more input from Chief Stevens to
Yeah.
clarify, right? Just to
Yeah.
make sure we're hitting it. I mean, I think, like the shopping centers, and we talked about the behind, the back doors and whatnot, I think that's pretty important, but there's some piece that I feel like we're just missing that maybe Chief Stevens can clarify for us.
I hope so, because industrial area, I feel needs signs, like Starbucks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
that's
which
what-
plant, right?
Maple Press, International Trucks, Revlon, they should have,
Building one building too.
So would you
Right.
like me to talk to Chief Stevens about
Just,
this
yeah,
and
get some
see what he says?
clarification,
Okay.
more specificity as to what he's looking for.
Okay.
And then maybe, Andy, you would just earmark a spot for that as well. Okay. All right, so then, go ahead, Kate, for the
All right,
next one.
so the next one, chart A, permanent signs, we'll kind of just, don't worry about that one.
We're gonna remove it.
Yeah, we'll remove that one. The next one kind of goes in with the signs that we just talked about. If that's something that we decide to do, or am I able to enforce permanent signs on structures or, at industrial buildings or commercial buildings to have either the illuminated signs per the ordinance or commercial businesses to have them on their building?
If they're existing.
Yeah. And give them, roughly a year to.
So you're talking about the access, you're doing two separate things, right? One is the
Yeah, 'cause-
internally illuminated
Yeah, 'cause
sign
that's
for the
what-
primary access.
That's what you guys had mainly did for industrial, right?
Right,
So,
but you want to know, can you go out and enforce it for an existing structure?
yeah, for different ones that don't have that currently, since the ordinance changed.
Kate, I think we should confer with our fire chief and our police chief on that, because I think it would aid the police if they get an alarm or a call for a certain building. That's,
Okay.
see what they're suggesting.
All right.
So really, I guess, Attorney Miller, that would be a legal question. If the board did agree to an ordinance to require a business sign on commercial buildings or industrial buildings or whatever they come up with, is Kate allowed to go back on properties that don't have a sign, is that allowed to be enforced, or would that be considered a pre-existing nonconformity?
Oh, forget your
Yeah,
mic.
I just have to figure out where we would enforce that at, and where,
Need your mic on.
we just have to figure out where we put that, in the ordinance, and, I mean, the 255-67 probably works. I wanted to think about this a little bit more, because what I'm hearing is one of the primary concerns is having the illuminated signs for fire safety, for emergency services.
Which we do have in the ordinance already, yeah.
If we're gonna make it retroactive and require people to get up to code.
Right.
Maybe we put that in the fire in chapter 1 as well.
Okay,
It's there, you can require it
all right,
to comply. So, but let me consider that.
Okay.
go ahead, Kate.
All right, so the last two I'll do together is 103, 12, 7, and 8 for Knox boxes. It has in there, I'll go to where it says the owner shall contact the code enforcement officer to schedule a site visit. I want to add with the fire chief on that one, to schedule a site visit with the fire chief, because he is the one that ultimately checks the Knox boxes.
He's certified
Yeah.
in doing all of that.
Was there any opposition to either one of those? I think
No.
Makes sense. Why can't we put that in the, occupancy permit?
Yes, and do that before they get occupancy.
Yep, agreed.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do that, yeah.
Yeah, he already goes, it's just a technicality to make it clean and add up to what we're already requiring. Yeah.
We're adding the fire chief to that.
Right.
Okay.
And then we get to like miscellaneous, and, or I'm sorry, any other amendments raised by the public or any of you, but Kate does have just a couple more things to add that were an afterthought. And I think they're pretty simple and she could probably skim right down and you just say yay or nay, no.
All right, so the first one is going to be to add the definition for second front yard. I had a couple people ask what exactly that definition is. We do not have a definition for second front yard, so I'd like to add that.
Okay.
The next one is going to be for another definition. It would
If
be-
needed.
If needed, yeah, it'd be for casino/gaming facility. And it would be to provide a use for this, permitted by right or special exception, either commercial or industrial.
Yeah. So these, we don't allow, or we don't, provide the use of casino or gaming facility right now. So since it's a use not provided for, it would be by special, they would need to go to zoning hearing board for a special exception. And, I think what Kate's getting at is because of the new laws that have passed, maybe this should be a use that's addressed if you agree. And I think, Kate, you're actually recommending a special exception
Mm-hmm.
in one of the districts.
Yeah, commercial or industrial. I guess it depends on how big their facility or what
Isn't
their
this
plans
the-
are.
Isn't this the dialogue that we had with, data centers? Because I thought we initially were leaning special exception, and then we came back and created the overlay because it gave better control. So, and I mean, I'm not opposed to doing something.
Right now, I mean, they could go for a special exception in any
I
district.
understand, that's the risk, because we can't do what we did before with the AI data centers.
I would, with casinos, I would just put it in a commercial district.
Okay.
That's, I don't, you don't have that big of a commercial district, and it's not a use of getting the centers. I don't think you're run on gaming and gambling. I don't think you're likely to see really large casinos.
Right.
facilities in and out. The world has changed for casinos.
Okay.
Don't get casino facilities that large.
But, right, but until we put something in place, they'd have to come to the zoning hearing board as a special exception. So, yeah, I agree we should do something then.
So if a casino does come to us and say at Royal Manchester Golf Resort, they have to do a special exception.
Right now, we do a special exception for use not provided for. If you put it in the commercial district, then they would need use variance.
Okay.
What about the game chambers, or the machines that you see in all the rudders?
I mean, their primary use would be like retail or gas station or whatever it is. That would just be accessory to their primary operation, really.
I noticed, never get sidetracked here, but I noticed like rudders that's going to, like I said, upstairs, or they have separated areas, so
Yeah.
kids are not exposed to them. But there's still other places, I mean, you walk in, they're just lined up right along the wall. I don't know if it's in our district, but.
I don't think so.
I don't look for it.
I think the ones that are not, like the way Rudders has done them, that's based on them being truck stop, so they have to meet minimum acreage requirements for that. Like a lot of the other ones, I think you're talking about, I think those are the gaming machines that are just skills, yeah, that are gonna go away.
Mm.
I think the Supreme Court just determined that they're
Yeah, they have to get special licensing, I think, by October. Yeah.
Was there any other uses we can think about coming up on the rudders that we go around for?
So we do have
Sure.
we do have a draft of battery energy storage ordinance, because I think we're gonna see more pressure and potentially proposed facilities for that type of use, especially with data centers, those kinds of facilities are going in. But they're also going in, I think they're also going to see them installed as just standalone facilities. There's already a lot being built in Maryland. They're already putting up significant battery energy storage facilities next to substations and things like that. So we have a draft ordinance. I'm gonna give that to Chrissy and Kate tonight to take a look at it, staff level. That's the one other use I can think of to try to proactively do something.
But that ordinance is gonna address wherever we add it, or in whatever zone and stuff. We don't have to put it in this ordinance amendment.
No, I
Right.
wouldn't put it in, I do it as a standalone.
Yeah.
As a separate.
And for the casinos, then, let's close that in, we're gonna have to do something on independent commercial.
I mean, that's what, I mean, that's a decision for the planning commission to make too. I mean, that would make the most sense to me. You have the traffic, you know, you have the, typically you have better roads supporting those areas and, you know, be more appropriate. And it's a limited area of township. Trying to decide, other areas are opening up to the industrial district or something like that.
And can you give a definition for that then, as well? Is that,
Yeah.
okay.
In that change about the key boxes, like the box boxes, what, you have 103.12.7, there is no, 103.12. I'm trying to figure out, so I can put it down like one place.
Yeah, I had it 103.103.12.7 Yeah, I wrote down.
Oh, maybe you're missing a letter or
Yeah.
something.
I can look it up here real quick and give that to you. I just have one more suggestion. I don't know if I want to highly recommend this.
I made her put it on.
This one here is for 144-6, rental operating license required. Rental operating license issued by the township secretary. I think this should stay the same.
No, it needs to be the zoning officer who does that rental license, not
But
the
yeah, Change
secretary.
it from secretary to zoning officer.
Thank you. That is a permitting item. Secretary does not do that.
What chapter is?
144-6.
So it's 12, B is the letter for the non-box stuff.
Oh,
Thank you.
very good.
It's just missing the letter B in there, Andy.
And so that's a yes for those three then?
Well, you seem to want abundant clarity and certainty. You're like, it's the loudest I heard you all night. So everyone's okay with this, right?
Yeah.
So yes on the first two, not on the third one, is that where we're headed?
Shall pick it, you can be the minority. That's all I can say.
I appreciate it. Thank you for approving this to be changed.
Okay, any other, ordinance changes or anything?
Not for me,
Just-
no.
Okay, Lieutenant Warren, any comments from anyone? Supervisor,
None for me.
public comments? I have a comment. Thank you to staff for all the work you did putting in this, and thank you to the planning commission getting together with us and sharing your cerebral powers that you have. Appreciate that. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.